Hello, Cheryl. Is
Hi,
Cheryl?
Carol. I hope, am I coming through okay?
You
I'm
are.
here.
Yes,
Can you hear me or see me?
I
Okay.
can hear you and see
And
you.
I don't know if it's working. I have to tell you all, I'm in the mountains tonight in Mammoth, with my family. My grandson doesn't go back to school till Monday, so we had to make a quick run to the snow country. And anyway, I don't know. I didn't know if I could get a signal, but let me know if it's not working. Hopefully it will be. So anyway, it's my pleasure to be here, and I'm very excited for this new year. This is really kind of the first gathering of the group since the new year
Yes.
for anybody in the organization. So welcome, welcome, and happy new year to everybody. I truly believe that this is going to be just a record year and one of those years that we'll look back and think, remember 2020. As Josh said, this is 50 years. Our company is 50 years old at this point. I have been with the company for 32 years, working right alongside Sash and many of you for many years, and then many of you may be just joining us. I love the stories. I love Sash's story and all the stories tonight. Uh, she talks about her son, Ben. I mean, I've had a conversation or two with Ben, and he doesn't remember, the difficulty of his early life thanks to Juice Plus. And if we talk about athletes, I always wished I were an athlete. I have to say that. I did go tubing today, though. I want y'all to know.
Oh my gosh.
Very, very proud of me. Okay. But for those of you who I've not met, just a little background. Cheryl Cortese is my name. I'm a national marketing director and have been with the company for 32 years and an NMD 31 of those years, and really feel like we're in the very best place ever. As many of you may know, our marketing plan, or you might say our compensation plan, the way in which we're being paid, has had a bit of a facelift. And so even though the numbers may look a little different to you, in every aspect of your business, you're going to be making just a little bit more than you were a couple of days ago. So with consistency of effort, you're going to see a great return. Next week, I will be back at home and have more assurance of, I guess you would say, a good signal. And I will go over that compensation plan as the training for next week. So I'm going to invite all of you to be here and go over it with us. I'll be able to point out the places where you see an increase, but also we'll talk about the strategy of developing our business and how to go about that to be the most effective, how to structure it, how to teach your team to structure it, your new distributor as they start, the new partners, as we refer to our team members today. So once again, I love what I do, and I feel very blessed that Juice Plus has certainly given me my edge from a health standpoint as well as my family. And that's an exciting thing because it really lets you make more choices in life. Physically, I think that you are become limited in as time goes on. So if we look at our business, though, that's what it gives us as well, is as our businesses grow, it just gives you freedom of choice, not only security from an income standpoint, but that freedom of choice as you not only grow your own business, but you can only grow if others grow with you. And that's something else that I find very exciting and rewarding from a company and business standpoint. So tonight, let's just kind of do a quick review since it's been 2 weeks since we were together. And what we'll just look back on is on the last training call, what we talked about were, not only building a team, because we're all about team. If you really want to take full advantage of the compensation plan, of the pay plan, of our business model, then you want a team that not only, starts out right there locally, but begins to grow statewide, nationwide, across the world, so that you can totally take, take total advantage of all that's there from the compensation plan. And one of the things that I would encourage you to do here in the new year is to really think about what do you want your goals and your plan to be for the year. This is something that a number of us on the NMD team do is that we'll talk about that and share it with each other. And I would encourage you to share it with your upline and your national marketing director is, what do you want the short-term goals to be over the next few months? What is your next position? What's your goal over the year? And then what's your 5-year goal? It's a good time to think about those things and to really write them down. I found for myself, if I put it down on paper, it has a much better chance of materializing in real life. And this is something that took me a while to discover, because I'm one of those people that I think, oh, I've just got it all in my head. I don't have to worry about that. But it really does work for me if I outline it and put it on paper. But as we were talking about, building teams, one of the things that was asked, and we began to cover last time, and we will continue to talk about, is how do you close? Because if we look at it, our whole focus is how do we put our arms around the world? And you might say, put our arms around all those people who we're going to invite and include and who will become part of our team. And then, of course, at the same time, we're all wanting to collect customers and help and model for our teams to collect customers, because you're going to reach the world only through a large team. So we're going to think about, how do you talk about the close and how do you close? Well, one of the things that we mentioned, and I'll just reiterate it a little bit here as we talk about it, is in review, is because we're going to lay it as a foundation for the up and coming calls that we'll do here on Thursday night. So we really talked about the fact that you start closing as soon as you begin to tell the story. So your story is really the beginning of closing for both the product and for the business. And when you think about your story is, if I think about Sasha's story, if I think about the stories that I heard tonight, I mean, they reach your heart. She told you, how it felt, what it felt like. If you listen to every story tonight, they told you what it felt like. And that's what people connect with, or your feelings. So the first aspect of closing someone and inviting them, because a close is an invitation, inviting them to either become a customer or to become part of your team, is you telling your story. And of course, you want to tell that to as many people as possible. But that story lays the foundation for the invitation. And I think that's really an important aspect. I would really encourage you too, as you talk to your upline and you talk about your goals for the year, also interview your upline, interview your sponsor, interview your national marketing director, and the Qs that are, the people who are in leadership, and ask them, what do they feel like is their best approach and what is their best close as they build their own teams, because obviously they have had experience and continue to build teams as they go. So I would really invite you to interview them, because that's going to be one place that you'll get some input. Also, if you think about having a conversation, closing is a process. And so as I tell my story, as I tell other people's stories, I'm listening for that new person or the potential distributor. I want to know their story too, so that I can take what I have to offer and wrap it around what I'm hearing is their needs, their desires, their concerns, their worries, things of that nature. But I'm always, from conversation to conversation, you want to make sure that you're arranging for the next conversation. So one of the closes that has worked very well for me over the years in continuing to keep that conversation going as we go through the process of team development or acquiring a new team member is, at the end of every conversation, don't leave it open-ended. It is something to the effect of, where do we go from here? When do we talk again? I never leave a conversation without asking, for their direction as to when do we talk again? Where do we go from here? What do you need from me? So that I make sure that I keep that process going. At that point, as you begin to know people and you begin to get their story as well as they hearing yours, then you have a foundation to really be able to ask questions like, and one of the very best for me over the years has been, well, tell me, what is it that you really want for you and your family? If it could be anything, you know, if this blank wall were your financial future, what would you want that picture to be? And then I'm going to listen for what people's desires and wants are. And I think that's very important to help people identify that, especially in the process of team development, because for the most part, even if they're thinking about it, it might be way back in the back of their mind, because most people are very concentrated on just doing what life requires of them every day. So get people to stretch a little, get them to dream a little. And in listening to those dreams, then you're able to begin to use what we have here to create an option. And that's my next question. And I think it's the most important one in how you go through the process and acquire a new team member is, now I've asked, what is it they desire? But the next question is really important. What are your options to make that happen? And so most people haven't thought about an option. Even if they have the dream, they haven't thought about the option from a business standpoint or an income standpoint, or extending that ability to create additional income. So what are your options to make that happen? Then you're going to listen for that. And then the next question would be, have you ever thought about being in business for yourself? Or you may have been looking for some of the things that you really saw in that person, or that you know in that person, if you know them well, that are characteristics that you know would fit our business well. They might be a people person. They may love people. They may have a passion to make a difference for other people. Things that you notice you want to pay really close attention. So you can say something like, I know, you know, how much you really love nutrition and how much you like supporting other people in realizing how important nutrition is. You'd be really great at what we do. Actually, my first distributor was somebody that I loved her. She was a good friend, and I thought she was an extremely funny person. She was. And I said, you know, you're one of the most fun people I've ever been around in my whole life. We could have such fun doing this together. So you want to think about a heartfelt feeling that you can transfer to that person, in very authentic feeling in what you see and why you would like to invite them to be part of your team. So questions are, you know, where do we go from here? So you keep the conversation going. If life could financially be anything you want it to be, what would your desires be for yourself and your family? And I always include yourself and your family. What are your options to make that happen? And then, have you ever thought about being in business for yourself? Or sometimes I don't use that question. I'll say, you know, you'd be really good at what we do, because what I see in you is, and you and I could have a lot of fun doing this together. So just authentic feelings are very important as far as really beginning to put that team together. Another thing that it can be very powerful in team acquisition is what I refer to, and you may have heard, is the third party approach. And it's conversation with people, and who do you know that might be interested in an additional income source or an additional profit center. And it depends on the conversation you're having. If I'm having a conversation with someone and it's taken itself in a nutritional direction, it might be something to the effect, you know, our company is really looking for people to help us share this story, because there's so few of us here in this area and there's so many people that need to hear it. Do you know anybody who might be interested in an additional income or an additional adventure? So that third party approach has been very powerful also, because then it gives the person an opportunity to ask you more about it from a business standpoint. And if they're not interested, many times you have referrals from people, which can be very powerful as well. So just as I said, this little beginning here was just to kind of catch up on what we were doing, excuse me, right there at the end of the year with zone approaches and closes. And we'll continue to talk about that. But I would like for you all as homework, interview your upline, interview your national marketing director, and then start making notes. Also, the other thing we mentioned was that whoever invited you into the business, into our company, they ask you, how did they ask you? What got you, so to speak? I would really analyze that within yourself. What truly got you? Because whatever got you is the story you want to share with someone else. And that is what is going to attract them as well. So those were just a few little, highlights so that we can lay the foundation from here. So as I said, on the next call, we're going to go through the compensation plan. And we're going to talk about once you do have interest, once somebody is interested, then, where do you go from there? How do you utilize that plan? How do you tell them about how our business is built? And in a very simple fashion, because it can be one that can be, it's a very different way. For me, it was like daunting because I was so used to the traditional work world. I was an educator, I was a teacher. And so, my whole, I guess you would say, historical reference of how people earned a living was you traded your hours for dollars in whatever aspect you were trained to do. And I didn't make very much teaching, even though I loved the profession, but it was what I knew. So this seemed very foreign to me, and that was okay. The beauty of it is that, they're going to pay you. Our company's going to pay you whether you understand the plan or not. But what our organization is really known for is that we're very good at team development. We love the idea of team acquisition because that's how we're going to reach the greatest number of people throughout the world to share the product with. And so the whole idea is to continually to absorb and learn how you go about understanding your plan, how you're paid, and where that comes from, and where your efforts need to go to maximize that plan to the greatest degree. So we will be talking about that with the pay plan, and I'll go over it with all of you all next week. I might tell Carol, too, that since she's monitoring this, I have no time around me. This little computer I'm on doesn't have time on it, so you'll have to tell me how we're doing from a time standpoint. Because I could talk on it when you see.
We have about 10 more minutes.
I love it.
You're doing great. 10 more minutes.
Okay, real good.
Yep.
Okay, just kind of give me a signal when, because it could be midnight and I'm going home. We don't want to do that.
Still be going.
Okay. But at any rate, we're in an exceptional time, and I feel this very strongly. If you look throughout the marketplace, and this is important, I feel like, as far as really looking at yourself and what is your professional image? How do you see yourself as a professional? Because if you can meet the needs in the marketplace, then you always have great value. You have great value from what you have to offer. You have great value from a business standpoint. And you can also take a great deal of pride in that, which lays the foundation for confidence. And some of the things I want us to talk about over the next few weeks too, and we'll hit some highlights tonight, are things like confidence and where that comes from and how to build it. Looking at a work ethic and what a good, strong work ethic looks like. Momentum and where momentum comes from and how to build it. But if we talk about why are we so valuable, why are we relevant right now from a product standpoint and a company standpoint, it's pretty easy to see from a product standpoint. We only have to look around and we can see the need so clearly. The whole foundation of health that Juice Plus creates. We hear this over and over and over. The research we have, the years that we've been in the field with Juice Plus, the simplicity, the affordability, all of those things bring great value to people. You hear these stories every Thursday night and it just fills your heart. every Thursday night about what people are able to achieve from a health standpoint. So your value and what you have to offer is huge. But the value that we have to offer with our business is just as large as the product value. And it's something that I'm very proud of. I'm proud to be identified with it. And I think what we have to offer at this point makes us exceptional in the work world. First of all, you only have to look out into the population, and you see that our economy has a good foundation at this time in the U.S., and yet people are still looking for those extra avenues of income. And we've mentioned this before, the whole gig economy, but I think it's important to have this as a reference point here as we start the year, is that you see people, even though they might have secure jobs that they're not that unhappy with, they may actually like them, but they want or need additional income to be able to keep up with the cost of living. Or they may not be that happy with their job and they would like to find ways to exit and can't do that, just overnight. So you see many things that people are doing from an entrepreneurial standpoint. And this whole idea of entrepreneurial autonomy has become one that's very prevalent. And it's people seeking things that they can do to expand their profit centers in many different ways. You look at it as, the Uber driver, the person who is delivering for Amazon, the bed and breakfast or Airbnb here, where you have a in-home business, or you rent out space in your home. We see so many areas in which people are doing things of that nature, but they really work for an app, and so they don't have that connection that we have. I listened to a wonderful talk the other day, and it talked about all the I guess you would say what's really missing in society as for today, as far as people being connected, and the loneliness that occurs because of it. And one of the things that we have to offer from an entrepreneurial standpoint is not only an amazing compensation plan where people can grow up into just big business if they choose with our company, but we have an amazing community and a wonderful way for people to stay connected. So as far as being relevant and valuable, we are really rank up there at the very top as far as the need in the marketplace today. So you can really look at your business here as something that has great value to bring to others. And I think that's very important as you look at just all aspects of it, what your goals are going to be, and then how you're going to go about going out there and putting the team together. The story, of course, is the basis of it. But then other things come into play as well. And one of the things I'd like to just touch on before we close is that the idea of confidence. People come into our business, like myself, many years ago, and thought, this is like someone's asking me to speak a foreign language. Not only the pay plan, but just the whole idea of talking to people. And so that's why I'm talking about approaches and closes. It just gives you little ideas. But then what is confidence? It's really becoming comfortable with whatever you're doing. Just think about things that you didn't feel confident about when you started, that today becomes second nature to you. Driving a car is probably a good example. That, I was terrified to be behind the wheel. Now I don't have to think about it for years and years and years. So what made that happen? How did that come about? It's the same thing with our business and confidence in this. It's that you do the activity until it becomes second nature to you. And like you were born with the innate ability to do what you do from a business activity standpoint. And so confidence builds on confidence. And it's something that I want to talk about as we get into the year. We'll spend a whole session on that, on the fact that repetition ensures integration. So when you repeat something over and over and over, it becomes such a part of you that you can't forget it. It's not only that you can teach it, but you can't forget it. So we'll talk about aspects of areas in which confidence is built, and the security of feeling good about knowing that you know what you know and how to go about it, and how to go about developing and growing a big, strong, powerful business. This organization today, and I can say I started my business 32 years ago out of sheer fear, terrified financially. The economy in Louisiana had literally fallen out from beneath us. I was suddenly single and couldn't really, go back home. My parents were gone by then, and I had 2 children in middle school. And so it was a very terrifying time, but at the same time, it really opened a door where I learned skills that I didn't know I could possibly, do, or that I would be able to do. And I learned those skills, and they became second nature. So it was just through repetition of activity that was modeled by the people around me within the company, by my own sponsor. And it really became foundational to a very powerful business, because today as an organization, we market over $10 million worth of Juice Plus every month. And so that's you and I and all of us together, the community within this team alone. So just think about our company as a whole and the value and the power of what you have to offer. That story is everybody's story on this line, is that we all not only have that opportunity to grow, but we all share the story of the success and the growth that has happened to date and that continues to grow. So confidence is just no more than really modeling behavior that's successful and doing that repetitively over and over. It's, that determination to be the very best at what you do. I was speaking with Elton DeBose the other day. He's one of the senior vice presidents in our company. He's been with Jay Martin, who started our company now, for the whole 50 years. And we had this conversation about, we were talking about how do you become the best in the world, at what you do. And he said, what's interesting in studies is that you don't have to be twice as good as somebody else or 10 times as good, only 10%. And, I read recently that, it's just that little extra 10% that really puts people, up there as Olympians. It puts them in the, top running as far as anything is concerned. It's that extra effort. So we have an exceptional year this year with, as I said, a new pay plan, a whole new, in a way, start, but yet a huge foundation behind us, 50 years of success in the year 2020, which we could refer to as perfect vision. And to really take this vision, to really make your plan, to look at what is it that you really want for yourself and your family. What do you want your future to look like this year, next year, 5 years from now? And write those things down. And then let's continue to talk about things like work ethic, confidence, momentum, and where it comes from, and how you build it, and how you sustain it and grow it. How you really take the pay plan that we have, the compensation plan, and utilize it to the greatest extent, to really take advantage of everything that's here. So my commitment is to be here every Thursday night with you all, invite people here, and let's just, really do not only shine as we shine now, but become the very best in the world at what we do. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Carol, and hopefully this has been at least able for people to see it. I didn't know if it was coming through or not.
It worked out well. Carol? Yes. Everything came out well. We could hear you, and that was good. So I just want to say that I do need speakers. So if you haven't spoken, you can go ahead and send me an email or a text. I'm on Boxer, and let me know. So we need some speakers lined up. I've got maybe the next week or two, but January, February, March, let me know. All right. Otherwise, good night, everybody. Thank you for sharing your stories tonight, ladies. I appreciate it. And we'll see you all next week.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so
Good
much.
night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. It was wonderful.